And we are back on the grid. Thanks for joining us on Newswire. Bringing in Gilbert McGregor. We're going to talk all things hoops. Gil, good to see you. He's from the Sporting News, covering all things basketball. We'll start out on the Olympic side of the hardwood today. USA takes on Serbia in just about 45 minutes to warm up, but these teams will match up in the Olympics. They're in the same group. That is the opening round game. The opening game for both teams will be against one another. So I don't know how much you'll see from these teams today, but that's sort of, as I've been watching these games, trying to figure out what rotations will look like. I'm sure Steve Kerr is trying to figure it out like the rest of us.
Absolutely. I don't expect either of these teams to show too much of their hands, considering they'll be playing against each other again in about 11 days. But one of the big things that's important for these warm-up exhibition games is figuring out the rotations. Team USA tweaked the starting lineup ahead of the exhibition against Australia on Monday, and I think they liked what they saw. I know Joel Embiid is still struggling to find his way. There's a little bit of a subplot there between Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic in this game. So it'll be interesting to see if Steve Kerr goes with him again. We saw Anthony Edwards kind of come into his own, and I'm expecting Steph Curry to figure it out. You know, he demands so much defensive attention, but he hasn't really gone off like we're used to him going off. So I think that's something I'll keep my eye on in this one. Maybe we'll see some other tweaks in the starting lineup as they try to perfect things as they head to Paris.
Yeah, it was clear at the end of the game against Australia the other day. I know some people, it raised eyebrows that the game was tight late, but it was clear that the five that were on the floor at the end of the game would likely not be the five on the floor in a tight game during the Olympics. Is that fair to say?
I think that is fair to say, Mike. And it's interesting because Tyrese Halliburton ended up making big shots for Team USA to kind of allow them to hold Australia off in that one. But I think the biggest thing that they want to clean up, regardless of who's on the floor, their turnovers are what allowed the Boomers back into the game. They were up by about 24 points, Team USA was, in the beginning of the second half, and they just really played sloppy basketball. And that's why the game was closer than it probably should have been. So I would look to them to maybe try and clean up the turnovers and be a little more focused, you know, as they continue to kind of get back and ready for the Olympics. But also getting Kevin Durant back from injury is going to be an important part for Team USA as well.
Yeah, the NBA players that are of note on Serbia, clearly Nikola Jovic, Micic from the Hornets, and Bogdan Bogdanovic from the Atlanta Hawks. So those are the players that you'll see that could pose problems, obviously, especially with international rules. It's still always going to be a thing that when USA basketball plays, there are nuances to the game that I just think they're at a disadvantage when it comes to that kind of play, goaltending rules and whatever else. For the Group C that they will be in 10 days when the Olympics starts, USA minus 1,400, Serbia plus 680, South Sudan plus 4,000, Puerto Rico plus 6,500. For those Group C odds, I'd imagine that we'll get out of the group stage, Gil. But today the spread is 14.5 with a total of 176.5. Let's move over to the NBA, where we have the Lakers adding Lindsey Harding to the coaching staff, another female basketball coach added to an NBA staff. Good news for the Lakers, and she has a tie to J.J. Redick. She was on the Sixers coaching staff when J.J. Redick was playing there, correct?
Correct. And, you know, it pains me to acknowledge this as well, but they are both proud Duke Blue Devils as well. And they're two of the biggest names to play basketball at Duke. And Lindsey Harding is a coach who is really making a meteoric rise up the ranks on the men's side of coaching. And I think that, you know, she has a very good chance to be the first female head coach in the WNBA. That's how good of a coach she is. That's how good of a job she did last year with the Stockton Kings, the G League affiliate of the Sacramento Kings. So it's a great move from her to go from Stockton to go to LA to work with JJ Redick. I think her player development is going to be a big key in this Lakers team because they're relying on a lot of young guys on that roster having bigger roles than people probably anticipated them having because they struck out on so many free agents this offseason. So she could very well be the most important person on the Lakers bench this year.
Harding joins Nate McMillan, Scotty Brooks, and Greg St. John on the Lakers staff this season. And for those that don't know, Gil is a proud Wake Forest alum, so Tobacco Road tension runs deep even on this program. Lakers playing the Hawks in Summer League. 2.5-point favorites are the Hawks. 172.5 is the total. Obviously, it's going to be a storyline every time he takes the court about Bronny James and his performance. At present, his stats are not looking good. 5 points a game, 21% from the field, 0 for 15 from 3, and turning the ball over 2.5 times a game. I don't love the fact, Gil, that Bronny is in this position because people are trying to make a punching bag out of him. I don't think it's fair to him, anything that's going on. But what is your thoughts as we approach them having to make roster decisions? What do they do with Bronny?
I think it's a long-term project. I think they knew that coming into it. I'm sure that the Lakers organization would want to see more from him. I think he's been struggling and he's kind of in a shooting slump at the worst possible time. I think if that shot is falling, I think he'd be a little more confident, a little more sure of himself on the offensive end. But it's important to remember that he's still less than a year removed from that cardiac arrest incident last year at USC. So there's a player who's been through a lot as a person this past year, and the fact that he is where he is right now, I think he deserves a little of our patience, but it has been tough for him. And I know that he's facing a lot of expectations and a lot of pressure given his name, given his opportunity. But, knowing anybody who's been under a lot of scrutiny and a big spotlight throughout their life, I think he is definitely built and has a system around him to at least handle it and kind of persevere through this right now.
A lot of change going on with the Lakers, obviously, this offseason. They've lost free agents. They bring in a new head coach. They've got the Bronny storyline constantly around him, and they've obviously have a new coach to the staff in Lindsey Harding. So great stuff, as always, from Gil McGregor. He'll be with us all throughout the Olympics in order to track how USA Basketball is doing with those rotations, if they have any real threats within the tournament and beyond. NBA Summer League has been entertaining thus far. I think it's always a good shot to take a look at some of those rookie players and see how they can do in the flow of an NBA-style game. Good stuff from Gil McGregor. We'll be back with more on Newswire right after this.